Hello guys, and thank you for joining me. My name is Eugen, and today I will be looking at the Keiko Edge fountain pen. A pretty neat fountain pen that, spoiler alert, I do like more than I was thinking I will, to the point where I actually end up having two copies, a blue and a maroon. I was thinking to get the black version as well, but I already have too many black pens, so I steer clear of it. Before getting into the pen and its parts, I just wanted to let you know that today I will be sharing the review with Steven from Steven Ing's YouTube channel. He was kind enough to reach out to me and propose a collab. More info into the drawing intro before the time lapse. So, going back to the fountain pens. I purchased these pens from AliExpress, and back then when I purchased them, I paid around 16-19 Canadian dollars each, plus about $6 Canadian on shipping. Again, like I said, this has been a few months back. I haven't checked the prices to see if the prices have changed, but I know that recently I've seen a small an ad on Amazon, and these pens were still around 20 CAD, at least on Amazon. So the fountain pens are pretty much exactly the same no matter what color you get. Like I mentioned, I choose the blue and the maroon, and I actually really like them. As you can see, the shape of the pens are somewhat cigar shaped, and the ends of the cap and the barrel are pretty much cut off or straight. They are not rounded, and there are no actual finials on both ends. The material of the pen is Macrolon, which is a fairly, I guess I would say, rare material used for these fountain pens at least. I haven't seen a lot of fountain pens using this material. Well, obviously with the exception of the Lamy 2000, which for whatever reason a lot of people compare this with. My personal opinion is that these fountain pens, they do stand out on their own. They have a different design, they have a different filling system, different nib setup, and so on. So other than the material Macrolon and the brush effect that they have, I don't see a lot of similarities between the two. One feature on these fountain pens that some people would not like or enjoy that much is that clip. While it has a very interesting design and it kind of fits the fountain pen in simplicity and style, it's not really usable. From my point of view, this clip it's more of a roll stopper rather than anything, even though you can actually move it a little bit up, but I don't think you can fit it over a lot of things. And at the same time, you do need to use your nail, and if you don't have nails, that might be an issue. I've been trying to actually see if I can slide something underneath, and you can sort of do that, and you will only be able to go this far with a material this thin. It won't snag, it won't break stuff. However, if you're trying to push it without lifting the clip, you could most probably damage your shirt because this thing almost feel like it cuts through it. Those edges on the clip are fairly sharp from what I can see, and they could, well, damage your pocket. So my advice will be just use it as a roll stop and nothing else, and just think there's no clip attached to it. And as a roll stop, works actually very well. Now, the cap on the fountain pen, it's a push-pull type. It actually works very well. It has a nice click to it. Let me bring it closer to the mic. And I actually like it. It's very secure. It doesn't move. And basically, it works very well. Once you remove the cap, you will be greeted by a metal section, which I assume it's aluminium, and then number 5 nib. The cool part about the section is that it actually continues the brushed effect that you have on the Makrolon material, and you will see basically a spring or a clutch, whatever you want to call it, that has 2 little ears that will catch on the inside of the cap on that edge over there, like right there. And that's a pretty nice mechanism. I really like it. The nibs on these pens, as far as I've seen on all 3 colors, brown, blue and black, they do come in a gold-like color, not actual gold. And in my case, I do have on both pens the fine size. I wasn't able to find anything finer than that. I don't know if an extra fine exists. The nib is a number 5 nib, and it's fairly simple, fairly elegant, and it has a nice logo, I assume Keiko logo on it, if not something else. And underneath it says Germany and the size of the nib, in my case, fine. These nib units look very familiar to me, especially that feed. It's almost like a giveaway that these are Schmidt nibs. And the way this black color is, it really looks to me like is a Schmidt number 5 nib unit. You know what? Give me a second, I'll go grab something and I'll be right back. And I am back. What I did, I basically went and borrowed a nib unit, a Schmidt nib unit, and a Schmidt universal cartridge that works with the nib unit, and let's see if this is the same. Oh, before going into the nib, when you open the section, you basically will not get an actual converter with it. However, in the package that you buy, if I remember correctly, you do get one cartridge, and in this case it looks something like this, and it's black ink. What ink it is, I have no idea. Anyway, going back to the nib, let me see if I can open it up. Yeah, it opens up very nicely. And yes, from what I can see, this does look like a Schmidt nib unit. Let me see if we can put this into the pen. And what do you know? Perfect fit. Oh damn, that actually looks nice. Okay, this gave me an idea. I know what I'm gonna do with this fountain pen, but for the time being I will be using the actual nib. And just to test out, yep, this works very nicely. And if I close the barrel, perfect fit. So if you like this fountain pen, keep in mind you can use number 5 Schmidt nib in them and cartridges. Basically, this is the fountain pen. Not a lot to talk about. I'm happy to discover that basically, I assume these are actual Schmidt nibs. So that Germany engraving in there, probably, well, engraving or laser graving, either or. Looks like that Germany inscription actually might be just. Maybe those are actual Schmidt nibs. But I'll be honest, I never seen a Schmidt nib that looks like this. Let me know if you ever seen this type of Schmidt nib. Oh, one thing that I did not talk about is that this pen actually posts very well. And I mean very well. It's what I would call a perfect fit. However, this does back weight the pen a little bit. This is the balance it has with the cap posted, and this is the balance with a hero converter, empty and unposted. today I will not be using any specific ink. I will actually be using the cartridge it came with. I have a few cartridges around, so if I want to get rid of them, I should start using them. So for today, the inking process is fairly simple. If you're using a cartridge, put the cartridge there, push it, and in theory you're ready to go. You know what? One thing that I might want to do, since I have both pens, and maybe I want to use both, I'm gonna take a little bit of ink from this cartridge using my my syringe, transfer it into this converter, then fill it up with water. So basically I get more of a gray, hopefully a nice gray, and maybe I can have like a dual tone in my drawing. Okay, so what I did, I grabbed a little bit of ink. I'm gonna transfer it into this converter, some water, fill up the converter, and hopefully this will give me a nice gray. Push some ink out, just so I can prime the feed and nib. Perfect. And now on to some writing samples. So let's see how did this work out. First we'll try the one that we have the cartridge in it. Oh, ink is already there. That's good. Was a little bit of skipping, but I guess because of ink didn't actually get properly. But now this seems that the flow it's actually pretty good. Reverse, unusable. Cool. So it looks like it did not dilute that ink that much. We'll see how it's going to perform in the drawing. Same, the nib doesn't look like it's very usable on reverse, so at least the nibs are exactly the same. Now, as mentioned at the beginning of this video, today I'm doing a collab with Steven from Steven Ink's YouTube channel. He was very kind and reached out to me with a proposal to participate in each other's videos. Steven is a great artist, and it seems like we have quite a few things in common. We both love fountain pens, and we both are using them for expressing ourselves through art and sketching. Please check his YouTube channel, link in the description, and subscribe if you like his content and if you are not already subscribed to him. He has been around a little longer than me, and he has a ton of great content. What we decided on was to swap the time-lapse portions of our videos where we share our opinions of the pens. Curious to see if we overlap in the overall feeling of this fountain pen. We also decided to have a common theme for our drawings. Draw a detail from the city you are leaving. In my case, I will be sketching a detail of Toronto's downtown area that is again inspired by one of my pictures. Fun fact, this used to be my view every day while going to work. It's not a very common picture of the skyline of the Toronto city, but it's something that I really liked, and it's interesting. I like the way the railroads are driving you towards the city. I like the bridge, and the fact that you can see the CN Tower in the background. Please go on and check out Steven's video, link in the description, or you can see my time-lapse sketch if you want to see that. Otherwise, I basically would pass it to Steven and his sketch, and I'll see you soon with conclusions.
Hello everyone, this is Steven from Steven Inks, and I'm really happy to be a guest on Eugen's channel today. I've been a fan of his work and his videos for quite some time, so I'm excited that we had the chance to collaborate in this way. You'll see me right now putting down the pencils for the drawing that we did. The prompt that Eugen chose was to draw something of the cities where we live. Which is not my strength. So shout out to him for coming up with a really challenging prompt. I am from the city of Salinas, California. That is where John Steinbeck is from. So if you had to read John Steinbeck's novels when you were in high school or middle school and you thought, oh, why is that man so depressed? It's because he's from my hometown. I'm mostly joking, but it is true that that is his hometown, and that is the most famous thing about my city. I went to the Old Town area to catch some of the historical buildings, and so I kind of thought I would just do a flat mock-up of those buildings. I'm using a Canson Bristol that was very cheap, and I had a lot of issues with this board just because the ink took a very long time to dry. So you'll see me later utilizing a paper towel, because another fun fact about this drawing, this is the second time I've had to draw it. I did complete the entire thing before, and unfortunately I filmed with my my camera out of focus, so that's a shame, but we learn something new each time, right? So looking at this drawing, I think I've kind of given it all the setup that I need. Let's talk a little bit about the pen. So the Kaiko Edge is a pretty decent pen, especially when you consider its price. It's I believe in the under $20 range. If you are in the market for something in that range, you know that those pens are usually not perfect. They come with their quirks. And this pen does have a few quirks. I noticed right away that when I started trying to use the pen, at the very beginning, I would have skipping and flow issues where the ink didn't seem to want to come out of the pen. So I'd have to prime it by unscrewing the section and twisting the piston of the converter up, and so that the ink would flow out. I don't know, it happened very inconsistently, so I don't know if that's a problem just with my pen or with the pen in general. So that was an annoyance. I also several times very badly stained my fingers because when I filled the pen using a converter, the ink kind of leaked out the front for a little bit. For a while I thought the pen was broken, but actually after I cleaned up all of that ink, and I unfortunately had to waste a bit of it on a paper towel, then it didn't leak anymore after that. So it did appear to function pretty well. It's a fun pen just because of the sort of the Makrolon, the brushed Makrolon finish is sort of a thing of legends, you know. Everyone that's into fountain pens is probably pretty familiar with the Lamy 2000, which is brushed Makrolon, which Makrolon, in case you didn't know, I mean, if you hold this pen in your hand, you'll definitely know, it is an earlier form of plastic. So chemically, it's quite similar to plastic. It's derived from petroleum-based products, and you would be forgiven for saying that it was just like PVC plastic or ABS plastic, the more common plastics that you see materials made out of. It is slightly different, but it feels that way. And the interesting thing about this pen is that it's made that way, and the Lamy 2000, which is an icon of the fountain pen world, is also made from brushed Makrolon. And there are a couple of other similarities. I do own a Lamy 2000, and obviously there's definitely a difference in the quality of the build. It probably shouldn't surprise you that a $20 pen is not the same quality as a $200 pen, so it's no replacement, but there are some similarities. One of them being the brushed Makrolon and the metal section, which is nice, feels pretty sturdy. The way that the cap clips on with the little metal studs that come out the side is the same as the Lamy 2000 as well. Some of the differences is that the nib is not hooded, so I like that actually a lot. I'm not really into hooded nibs. Buying my Lamy 2000 was a bit of a compromise, actually, because I'm not a huge fan of hooded nibs. I can get in the mood, but for the most part, I like nibs like what the Kaiko Edge has. The other thing that's very different about this pen is that it's a cartridge converter. The Lamy 2000 famously is a piston filler with a very hard to see ink window. So I have a lot of criticisms about the design of the Lamy 2000, as a matter of fact, and I think that the Kaiko Edge does a little bit better than some of those things. The unhooded nib and the cartridge converter, as opposed to the piston with a very hard to see ink window, being chief among those things. The other thing that is different that I don't prefer over the Lamy 2000 is the clip. I should say clip with air quotes, because it's not really a clip. It doesn't clip onto anything. It's if you were to try to clip this onto your pants, you would probably crack it, or I guess your pocket as well. I usually clip my pens to the inner pocket of my jeans. I just realized how weird that is when I said it out loud. But wherever you like to clip your pens, you will not be able to clip this pen. I do appreciate that it has something, though, because I do have a few pens that are just round, no clip, and any surface you set them down on, they instantly start to roll. So at least the clip functions as a roll stop, and I appreciate it that way. I've found I prefer using it unposted, although it does post pretty well, and I imagine that if you like posting your pens, you would have no issues with this pen. Just again, you won't be able to clip it onto anything because that clip it's weird. I don't know why that choice was made. Over at my channel on Steven Inks, we just finished doing Fake Pen Summer, talking about knockoff pens and pens that are exactly like other copies. So I almost wonder, it reminds me of this, if people were going to compare it to the Lamy 2000, maybe the Kaiko Edge went ahead and did their clip thing so that they could be very certain that they were not 100% copying the Lamy 2000. Even still, I don't feel that it is a 100% copy of the Lamy 2000. I can see that it's a kind of an homage, and perhaps even to the point that someone who really loves the Lamy 2000 would not enjoy this pen. But I have to say, it is very unique. It is its own thing. You do get what you pay for. There's a couple of quirks to this pen. But if you want to know what a brushed Makrolon pen feels like without shelling out $200 US dollars or more, then this is a pretty good option. So I want to say thanks to Eugen for letting me be a guest on his channel. If you'd like to see his drawing that he did that's really cool, come over, check out the video on Steven Inks. And I hope that you'll subscribe to his channel if you're a subscriber to mine. I think he makes really great content, and I was really happy to be part of this video. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Steven. I hope you guys enjoy his sketching. And again, if you enjoy what you saw, please do check out his YouTube channel and do subscribe if you like his content and if you haven't already. And I am returning with my actual final result. I'm not sure if you are able to go and see the sketching in progress if you're curious about it. If not, well, this was the ending that I had. The ink was actually fairly interesting. I didn't like it that much. It was a little bit smudgy, and even when I thought it was supposed to be dried out, it actually it was still smudging. And as a final result, I did a little bit of a wash with a brush just to try and cover those mistakes. Well, not mistakes, but smudges that unfortunately I could not control. And well, this gave me a result that I did not expect it. Well, I guess that's kind of the story of my channel. We start something, but we don't know what we are going to end up with. Anyway, going back to the fountain pens. First of all, I actually really like the nib. Unfortunately, it's not as fine as I wanted it to be. I don't know if it's because of the ink that comes with the cartridge. As I mentioned, I don't like it that much. Even though it does have quite an interesting color, like blues and purples once you start to wash it, and it washes very easily, so definitely not waterproof. So again, I don't know if it's the ink, but the line even on this paper was a little bit thicker than I wanted to, and in areas where I wanted a very fine line, I was barely gliding on the paper just to try and get that sort of finer line. Other than that, the line was pretty much this thick, which is more of a, yeah, I guess it is a fine, but it's more on the medium side for me. Anyway, starting to rambling here, so let's start through the cons and pros. Starting with what I like and what I think you might like about this fountain pen. Personally, I really like the shape and the design of it. And I think a lot of people will like this fountain pen as well. It's light, it's well balanced. Using it reminded me a lot of the fountain pen desk or the desk fountain pens, you know, the ones that actually get a little bit longer. I think I would like a version like this with this fountain pen. It feels very springy, for the lack of a better term. And I like the material it is. I like how the cap works. Everything about it, it's pleasant. And of course, the nib, it's wonderful. I really like it. It's not as fine as I would have enjoyed it or wanted it, but it actually does the job pretty well. And I'm pleasantly surprised to find that these are actual Schmidt nib units. That means that, well, if I really want to, I can always replace them with one of my spares and get that extra fine line that I like. Not to mention that I know what converter I can use for these fountain pens. And that's about it for positive. As negatives, personally, I'll be honest, I find it very hard to find something that I dislike about this fountain pen. If there's something that I could point to, it's probably the lack of a converter. Would have been nice if the converter was included with this fountain pen, but I guess it is what it is, unfortunately. What you might not like, definitely the clip will be hated by a lot of people. And yeah, I can't do much about that. If you're a person that needs a clip, yeah, this pen will definitely not be for you. The other thing that you might not like, apparently there are some issues with these caps. So far I was lucky, I have no issues with either of the caps on my pens, but apparently there are some cracking issues, and that's kind of a joy killer basically. But the good part is that if by any chance it does crack, you can still use the pen because it has a metal and plastic inner liner. Hold on a second, let me grab the flashlight. So there is a nice, oops, I lost the focus, inner liner that will still seal your pen, and if there's something that cracks, it will be the actual outside plastic. Still will be unpleasant to have it, but it is what it is. Apparently, from what I've been reading, the cracking issue happens because of the type of glue they used to glue that inner liner, and apparently that glue actually interacts with the Makrolon, and that's what causes the cracks. I don't know if they fixed the issue by using a different glue. I haven't heard any other announcements or rumors about it. Or maybe I'm on the lucky side of the things, or I just jinx myself. But I've been having these pens for, I want to say, 4 to 5 months. True, I haven't really used them. They'll be sitting on a shelf. But so far, knock on wood, nothing wrong with it. But I think if there's anything that people might dislike about them, it's the cracking issue. It does happen. Fortunately, though, they fixed that. Unfortunately, at the same time, though, you could expect that because it could happen at any time, I guess. And that's the only thing. Oh no, sorry, there's one more thing. One post-it, even though I like it posted and he posts quite deeply, a little bit more than half, it is a little bit back weighted. So if you write more on this position, you probably will feel it as you lift the pen. If you write more as an extension of your pointing finger, you won't feel it. It will actually, the weight of the cap rest nicely on your knuckle basically, and the weight is very well controlled. If you're one of the persons that writes like this, you might actually find the cap annoying, again depending on your hand position. The good thing about it is that unposted, it's actually a good nice length and size, and this whole pen you can grip it anywhere because there's no step up or anything like that for the grip. And I think that's about it. Nothing much else to add. All I can say is that I do like these pens. They're definitely one of my favorites. I don't know if they're top 10, but they're definitely one of my favorites and not something that I will just give away or get rid of, let's put it that way. So I'll enjoy it as much as I can. I will definitely switch one of the nibs to a Schmidt nib to have that extra fine line, and I'll keep the other one with the original nib to have a more basically thicker line when needed, especially when I need to fill in things. Anyway, I guess I'm starting to ramble again. So I guess I'll end it here. Again, my kind thanks to Steven for reaching out to me and making this collab. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if it's something that you'd like to see in the future, and maybe Steven will have many more in the future if we can. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. And I wish you a wonderful day and a good night, wherever you are. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Take care. Bye.